Good morning, everyone. But before I do that, I do want to help everyone keep in mind to please mind your mute button as a courtesy to our speaker. Also, on the top right corner of your PC, you'll see a button that says Speaker View, which will allow you to see the speaker in the presentation up close. Please use the chat feature to type in any questions that you have, and we'll read those at the end of the presentation. So for me, on a personal level, it is an extreme honor to present our friend and expert bilingual certified tour guide, Dali Amaro. He is the owner of Discovery Tours SMA and the coordinator of the volunteer walking tour program of Patronato Pro Niños. We're extremely proud of Dali. He is our only Mexican volunteer. He is a native of San Miguel who is dedicated to helping the community and is knowledgeable in all things related to tourism. If you haven't been on a private tour with Dali, you're missing out. So be sure to get some information at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I leave you in the good hands of Dali Amaro.
Thank you, Nori, for the presentation. And also thank you all for inviting me to give you this lecture about the Day of the Dead celebration. So let us start then with our presentation. So you'll find some information there about me and contact information like telephone number, web page, and email address. Next slide, please, so we can start. So this is what we see during the Day of the Dead celebrations. That is usually about the 1st and 2nd of November. And if this would be your first time in Mexico, and if you would come by this time of the year, you would be surprised to see all these altars that people have set up in their houses, in public places, and then you would start seeing also people with their faces painted with black and white colors, and then you would also see a lot of Mexicans going to the cemetery. So you might be like, what's going on? Why are they doing this? And then you would start seeing a lot of skulls, figures everywhere too in these altars. And I'm sure if this happened to you the first time, you were very intrigued about what was going on. This is the Day of the Dead celebrations, or in Spanish, Dia de los Muertos. So in this lecture, we're going to discuss the syncretism between the pre-Hispanic beliefs or indigenous beliefs and the Catholic beliefs, and how they mixed, and how they are combined, and the result of that would be the celebrations we have right now. Next slide, please. So in order to start analyzing this, right there. I'm sorry. Thank you. Right in there. We have to analyze first what do the indigenous people, what did they believe in the past before Spanish people came here? And of course, this had to do with the afterlife. Most civilizations all over the world have tried to explain what happened to us when we die. Is there life after that? Do we go to a better place? Is there a chance to see our beloved ones one more time? Or is there a chance to live one more time? So these are the questions that humankind have been wondering all this time. And so we have had many explanations according to the place where you live, or the country where you live. So here in Mexico, before Spanish people came here, this is what indigenous people used to believe. They used to believe that there were 5 places, 5 destinations where they would go when dying. Let's talk briefly about the first one, Omeyocan. Omeyocan, I think, was the best one. Omeyocan was a celestial realm. Yes, we're talking about heaven, if we would put it that way. And Omeyocan was ruled by actually the two most important indigenous gods, the creators of everything and the creators of other gods and goddesses too. Their names were Ometecutl and Omecihuatl. Um, actually, a mister and a miss, and a missus. A god and a goddess. And this is the place where soldiers would go if they would die fighting, warriors. Indigenous people thought that this was a glorious death. For indigenous people, it was more important for them the way that they died instead of what they did in life, actually. So, no matter if they were kings, let's say that a king died because of aging or because of an illness or an accident, that king would not go to Omeyocan. But if the king would have died while fighting, then the king would go to this place, Omeyocan. This was the place also for ladies, the ladies that died while giving birth. Indigenous people thought that giving birth was very important, and ladies had to be very tough in order to give birth, like a warrior. So for that reason, when a lady would die while giving birth, Omeyocan was the place where that lady would go to. And then after 4 years of being in this celestial place, they would have the opportunity to come back to Earth one more time, but in the form of hummingbirds. So in a way, it was like a sort of a reincarnation, um, but specifically, they would reincarnate in the form of hummingbirds. Why hummingbirds? Because with Huitzilopochtli, the god of war is represented by a hummingbird that comes from south. That's what Huitzilopochtli actually means. A hummingbird that comes from south. The next place is called Tlalocan. In that Tlalocan, this was a place that was ruled by the god Tlaloc, which is the god of the rain. So he's related to water. Due to this reason, people that would get drowned on a river or on a lake would go to this place. Also, people that died because of hydropsy as well. The next place is called Chichihuacuauco, and this is the place where children would go. Children that died in a young age would go to this place. And this was a place where there were trees that used to produce milk in order to feed these children. And then they would come back to life once mm, the civilization, the tribe where they used to live, uh, was over or got eradicated, and then there were no one else in the tribe or in the place, then that's when these kids be brought would be brought to life. Mm, the next place is called Mictlan. Mictlan is the popular one. Mictlan is the place where everybody would go, um, no matter the way that they died. Um, Mictlan was a place ruled by Mictlan Tecutli, which would be the Lord of Dead, and Mictecacihuatl, which would be the Lady of Dead. So even kings would go to Mictlan. Remember that for indigenous people, it was more important the way that they died instead of who they were or what they did in life. So people that would get to Mictlan would get to a state of no suffering, tranquility, and and um, and so that's Mictlan. Mm, once they got to that state of mind, to that state of peacefulness, there was a chance to move to the next place, which is called Chikunamictlan. And this is also called the second dead. Um, People would have the opportunity to go back to life and to be part of nature. So it's not like reincarnation where there would be humans one more time. No, no, no. They would have to be, they would have to form part of nature. All right. So next slide, please. Remember, we are analyzing right now what indigenous people used to believe before Spanish people came here. This is called the pre-Hispanic cosmovision. What's the cosmovision? Cosmovision is the way indigenous people used to divide the universe. In Christian religions, we have the celestial realm or heaven where God and angels and cherubs live, and also we have earth where we live. Well, what did indigenous people believe before Spanish people came here? This is what they believed. This is their cosmovision, the way that they divided the universe. Mm, Now, we're not going to analyze all these different worlds, but let me tell you that um, the ones that you see above, starting with number one, which is called it's it's Wicatl. Mm, it all these 13 worlds would be heavens. This is also called trece cielos or 13 heavens. There you're looking at the 13 heavens above the celestial realms. And gods and goddesses live in these 13 worlds, 13 heavens. The best one, it's number 13, is the Omeyocan. This is where the creators of everything live, Ometecutl and Omecihuatl. And this is the place where the warriors and soldiers and pregnant ladies would go and spend with them 4 years mm, before to become hummingbirds, as I said before. So 13 heavens above. Now, where do we, uh, warriors would go to Omeyocan. Uh, that's 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 like the best place in heaven. That's the 13 heaven, um, which is ruled by Ometecutl and Omecihuatl, the creators of everything, and other gods and goddesses. So, where do we live? We live on Earth, which is divided by 4 regions, as you can see there. It's north, east, west, and south, and each one of those places is ruled by a different god, like Huitzilopochtli that rules south, also Tezcatlipoca that rules north, Xixetopec east, and Quetzalcoatl west. Those will be the four most important gods after the ones that live in Omeyocan. And I will repeat them again. Huitzilopochtli, Xixetopec, Quetzalcoatl, and Quetzalcoatl, Huitzilopochtli, Xochitepec, and that's about it. Four. So this is where we live, an area that is divided in 4 regions. The following list that you see below, this is called the underworld. We use the term underworld because we don't want you to get confused with the word inferno or hell. Actually, inferno means the same, underworld. Mm, but when we talk about indigenous beliefs, we don't like to use the term infierno or hell because it has a different connotation for indigenous people. Underworld for indigenous people literally means under. I mean, these 9 places that you see there are actually literally found under under us. And so for that reason, indigenous people thought that lakes or cenotes, like in Merida, these bodies of water that are very deep and connect to the sea, were entrances to the underworld. So this would be the afterlife. So let's focus on that on those 9 different worlds. Um, the first, well, actually, the eighth of them, the first eighth, are places where people had to face obstacles. Mm, For instance, the first one, it's Quintlan, was a place ruled by Xolotl, which is the god of the dog, Xoloscuincle. And in that place, dead people had to cross a river. And there was a chance that they couldn't make it and they would stay there forever, and become spirits that used to wander along rivers and lakes. The following, the following one, number 2, was a place where there were mountains that were hitting each other, and in that way grinding what was found in between them. So they had to cross between those 2 mountains. So these were dangerous places where they would get stuck, or they would not overcome the obstacles and would take them longer. Supposedly, it would take about 4 years to get from one place to number 9, which would be Mictlan. Once they overcome all those obstacles in all these different places, Mictlan was the destination. What was Mictlan about? First of all, Mictlan was ruled by Mictlantecutli, the Lord of Death, and Mictecaciguatl, the Lady of Death. And it was a place for reflection, for meditation. Mm, this is described as a place full of fog, so you wouldn't be able to see clearly, but it was a place of tranquility and peacefulness. So there was no more suffering, and you would be very tired by this point, but it was a time of reflection about what you did in life and about your actions. So Mictlan was the popular place where everybody would go. Next slide, please. Now, the Catholic beliefs, the afterlife, according to the Catholic beliefs. We all know about heaven. That's the place where God lives, and the angels and cherubs. Mm, Celestial paradise, no more suffering. Mm, Purgatory. What's purgatory about? Purgatory is the place where people get purified from their sins. They purge their sins, and once they do it, they can have a chance to go to heaven. So yes, there's a way out of purgatory. Limbo, that's the place where children, where that children would go, especially the ones that didn't get baptized. We're talking about babies that died before they got baptized. And hell, we all have heard about hell. It's a place where people suffer and are tortured forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, so those would be the destinations after we died. So how do we combine all this in order to 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 get the Day of the Dead celebrations? Next slide, please. Well, these are altars that people set up in their homes. We see a lot of elements in there. We're going to describe those elements little by little. Next slide, please. Okay, so the most common altars are formed by 7 levels. And they actually very interesting. They have the shape of pyramids. And why 7 levels? Well, I just described the pre-Hispanic cosmovision that is formed by 13 heavens, 4 regions, of the earth, north, south, east, and west, and 9 underworlds. That was the most common belief in the pre-Hispanic um, cultures. However, the Ottomans divided the cosmovision in 7 levels, which would be 3 heavens. The next 4th one is where we live, and the other 3 were the underworlds. So this would be 7 levels. Some believe that the altars that you see that people set up with 7 levels actually refer to those to that cosmovision by the Ottomans. So what do they set up on the first level? The image, the saint, the virgin that will work as an intermediator between your beloved one that passed away, that might be in purgatory. Of course, nobody knows exactly where our beloved ones are found. So, due to that fear, um, people want to relatives want to give to give you an extra push or help to come out of purgatory in case that's where you are. So a saint or a virgin will be your intermediator to talk to God in behalf of you in order to get you out of purgatory. So the next level, as you can see, is dedicated to the purgatory souls. And then in each level, people would put different things, different symbols, like for instance, meals that your beloved ones used to enjoy, um, or personal items. Why? Because people truly believe that during these days, their beloved ones actually come to our world to spend time with us. During the 1st and 2nd of November, this is what happens. So for that reason, people set up a, a crown of flowers at the top of the altar, and this symbolizes the entrance um, for those spirits into our world. So since their beloved ones are visiting them, then people want them to have a good time with them, and for that reason, they bring food and meals that they used to enjoy when they were alive. And of course, they also bring a picture of that beloved one that you are dedicating that altar. Mm, mm. So if you if you want your relative that passed away to move out of purgatory, this is what you would do. You would choose a saint or a virgin that would work as an intermediator, and also you would add a picture of that beloved one that you want to get to get him out of purgatory. Okay, so of course I have seen altars with many other levels, so this is not like a rule. Okay. Next slide, please. And we have here the pyramid of Cañada de la Virgen. Cañada de la Virgen, um, very interesting because it has 7 levels too. So the explanation that we were given by the archaeologist Gabriela Cepeda is that actually this symbolizes the Ottoman cosmovision. 3 heavens, uh, the 4th level where we live, the place of the living, and the 3 underworlds. So we have very interesting coincidences here. Who goes to hell? Well, people that were mean persons, that were sinners, and for them, there's no chance to come out of hell. Okay. Next slide, please. So the pre-Hispanic symbols that are used in these altars. This is a list of some of them. There might be more, but this would be the most interesting ones. Skulls made out of amaranto, which is a seed that indigenous people used to use to make figures and actually their gods that they used to eat. For that reason, when Spanish people came here, they forbid them to eat amaranto. And what a shame, because amaranto is very nutritious, very nutritious. Colorful cut paper too, made out of amate, Cempasúchil flowers, these yellow flowers. Cempasúchil actually means a flower of 100 petals. Also, the Xoloscuincle dog figures, clay balls with water. They symbolize these cenotes, these bodies of water that are very deep. Remember, I told you that indigenous people thought that these were entrances to the underworld. Personal belongings too, because when an indigenous person died and would go to Mictlan, personal belongings would help them cross all these different worlds before to get to Mictlan. Copal incense. This is a resin come out of a tree, and this is used to bring the spirits back home. Crops and seeds, they symbolize earth. Um, and petates, this is a rock made of palm leaves. Drinks like pulque, mezcal, hot chocolate, all these would be indigenous drinks. And next slide, please. Here we have a picture of the Xoloscuincle dogs. Next slide, please. The amaranto, very delicious candies made out of amaranto, very nutritious. As I said before, indigenous people used to make figures of their gods and goddesses, and they would eat them. Next slide, please. This is from where the amaranto comes from. Next one, please. The cempasúchil flower. As I said before, cempasúchil means 100,000 petals. Next slide, please. Cacao seeds. Cacao seeds was used as a coin. It was used to interchange things, to buy things too. So cacao was important for dead people to bring with them because this might be useful for the afterlife. Next slide, please. This is copal. This resin from trees. Next slide, please. This is copal burning. Next one, please. And pulque. Pulque. This is gotten from maguey, cactus leaf. Next one, please. Cempasúchil with a petate. This would be a rock made out of palm leaves. And papel picado. Papel picado used to be made out of amate. The amate was cortex from honote tree that was pressed, and this is how they used to make this paper. You can still find it in our artisans market here in San Miguel. Next one, please. And this would be amate. You can find them in different colors. Next one, please. And also people decorate the amate paper, like the picture that you're looking at. Next one, please. Okay, the Catholic symbols. We are more familiar with these symbols, like the cross, rosemary prayers beads, images of saints and virgins. The crops and seeds, they represent dirt or soil. And according to Genesis chapter 3, verse 19, we were made out of dust. And so when we die, we go back, we become dust one more time. Candles. Now that's very interesting. Candles are used to light the path for those animals, for those spirits, for those beloved ones that are coming back during these 2 days to visit us. So they actually come from a dark place, and that's what the light to light the path for them. Aromatic incense. This is This is how they attract the spirits. White tablecloth, this represents heaven. Mm, mirrors, why mirrors? Because we want these spirits to realize that they are not alive yet. So we want them we want them to look at them through a mirror to realize that this is not their place, that they should go back. So they don't so they shouldn't stay in our world. The salt is to prevent rotting during the journey back home. Um, Pan de Muertos, bread of dead. This represents the Eucharist. Um, Acámbaro, a city nearby, is it's known for making this delicious bread. And what you see at the top of it actually are they represent bones of dead people. Ashes, crosses made out of ashes. This symbolizes penance and repentance. And when the altar is made out of two levels, this represents heaven and earth. And some people like to add also figures of angels. Next slide, please. Okay. So now, well, I just described this briefly, but this will give us an idea of uh, how to read an altar. So once we see an altar, then we will have a better idea of the symbols that people use. Next slide, please. And so there we have pictures of people going to the cemeteries because this is a fun time too. So they go to the cemeteries, they bring flowers, they bring candles. People even bring mariachi music because they truly believe that their beloved ones are back. So they want them to enjoy to enjoy their 2 days here. Um, Next slide, please. So and people go during the day and in the evenings to late evenings to the cemeteries. Unfortunately, in this year, our cemeteries here in San Miguel will be closed to the public. So no tourists will be welcomed. Actually, you have to make reservations, but this is for locals that actually have a relative there that was buried in that cemetery. So this time will be different. People will be allowed to bring flowers and to bring some decoration to the tombs, to bring some candles, but they will be controlling the entrance of the cemeteries. No more public altars in the street either. Um, People will be setting up their altars in their homes privately. Next slide, please. Now, Catrinas. That's another element that people have added lately. This is a new symbol. So, who are the Catrinas? Next slide, please. Catrinas were created by an engraver. His name was Jose Guadalupe Posadas. He was from Aguascalientes. And he used to produce prints, etchings, lithographs. And these were usually skeletal cartoons. And that's how he used to make fun of politicians. And so in 1910, he created Catrina. He called Catrina Calavera Garbancera. Calavera means the skull that sells chickpeas. Next slide, please. Let me show you. Like that lady there that is selling chickpeas in the streets. And so that's how he used to call it originally. Calavera Garbancera, the skull that sells chickpeas. Let's go back to the other slide, please. One before. During, thank you. Uh, During Jose Guadalupe Posadas, Mexico was invaded by French people during Maximiliano in the 1860s. So for about 4 years, between 1863 to 1867, we got all these French fashions. Mm, and then in the 1910, no, in between 1874 to 1911, Mexico was ruled by Porfirio Diaz, and Porfirio Diaz made commercial tradings with France. So we had a French influence one more time in Mexico, and it's during this time that people were dressing as that gentleman that you see on the right side, as a dandy, with a black tuxedo, tall hat, very elegant gentleman, very fancy. And of course, we're talking about wealthy gentlemen. Next slide, please. And one more there. So what happened? Well, Mexicans wanted to imitate those fashions, and there were gentlemen, many that, of course, were not wealthy, but wanted to give the impression that they were also wealthy. So people were spending a lot of money, maybe all their savings, in a tuxedo in order to look like a dandy. And you would see them in Mexico City Historical Center walking around. I mean, very fancy, elegant gentlemen, but they were not wealthy. They were actually poor. So others, when seeing them, they were like, that's fake. He sleeps in a coat. He sleeps in a cot or a bending or a folding bed. And by saying that, they were telling others that that person was a fake and was poor. So that's actually the origin of the word Catrina. Cot in Spanish is catre. That's a catre. So by calling this fancy, elegant gentlemen Catrines, they were actually telling them or calling them he who sleeps in a cot, a poor person, fake. So some believe that Catrina actually means elegant. No. Catrina means he who sleeps in a cot. In 1948, when Diego Rivera painted that mural in Mexico City, the name of the mural is Sunday Afternoon Dream in the Alameda Park. Diego Rivera painted Catrina in the middle, and then on the right side you can see Posadas, the engraver, her creator, and Catrina is holding the hand of Diego Rivera. Diego Rivera painted himself as a kid. So it's in that moment when Diego Rivera called the Calavera Garbancera Catrina, and that became the name of Catrina. Next slide, please. That's a folding bed. That's a cot. Next one, please. And we have added that other element to the Day of the Dead celebrations. And here in San Miguel, we have these parades with people dressed with black tuxedos, tall hats, ladies very elegant, very fancy, but with their faces painted like a skull. And now they are called Catrines due to that. All right, I think this is it. And I had to cover all this information in a short time. I'm sorry that I had to rush.
Thank you, Dali. I think you did a great job. And I know that there are a couple of questions. However, I'm having some internet problems. So I don't know if Skip or Ron can please read the question to Dali.
I am with you, and I think Dali had already answered some of those questions during his presentation.
Wonderful.
So I think we're all set. And Dali, I know that you have to do this whole thing all over again for the Patronato Pro Niños meeting, which is coming up in a very short period of time. Correct. So I hope you can all hear me. I had my microphone halfway across the table. So Dali, I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. The one question that I do have. Obviously, you had already mentioned that the cemeteries are going to be closed except for immediate families who can prove that
exactly
they have somebody buried there in those cemeteries. The Catrina parade normally that takes place is canceled this year. Not going to happen.
No public events in San Miguel right now. Of course, restaurants are promoting events. So, and they will have their altars, and maybe they will have some activities, but that's organized by restaurants.
Right.
But no public events
nothing going on in the Jardin, nothing. Okay.
There will be some decoration, yes. Perhaps an altar or two will be set up, yes.
Right.
But no parades of Catrinas. Not all these big celebrations.
No face paintings.
No.
None of that. All right. Very good. Yeah. Dali, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
You bet.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.